All right. Seems like everybody's getting filed in now. We'll give it another minute. We're going to make it quick, but I did not want to miss out on the show today. So we'll give it another minute, let everybody get filed in. Hope everyone's Thursday morning is going well and their week's gone well so far. When everybody gets here, we will start off with the top 25 rundown. Go over what we've got at the site today. What's going on, brother? Everybody make sure you smash the like button. If we get 50 likes in the next 30 minutes, I give out a free premium play directly off the card to everyone. All right, let me go ahead and pull up all of the odds and such. What's up, Tyrus? All right, let's go ahead and get started. Usually people have undone filed in by now. They'll probably start coming in just a minute, but I do not have time to wait. So we will bust this out. And I have done a free play video, like a normal free play video. Kyle sent me home sick. Glad to have you guys. I wish it was going to be a normal live show today. Usually we go live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, just so you guys know for the newcomers, because obviously we got a couple of new ones, Michael and Dustin. Usually every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Chuck, how's it take? Oh, looks like we got a lot of. All right, cool. Yeah, I appreciate it. So for all the new people, we usually go live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and we go live until at least 12 o'clock. Some days it'll run over to 12:15, 12:30, but we attempt to keep it in that hour. So that way, I know people are busy. They got things going on during the day. A lot of people are, at work. And they're trying to watch it and stuff. So I try not to take up too much of everybody's time, but cram as much stuff as we can into an hour. Like I said, some days we run over, and that's okay. But today, unfortunately, early this morning, it was just before 7 a.m., we're getting the kids ready for school. They had just come down, and I was getting them breakfast, and I go outside to let the dog out, and I get a message from the school district saying that because the weather is predicting that we may get snow this afternoon, that they're going to do an early dismissal as a precaution at noon. And I'm like, Jesus, God in heaven. That just screws up an entire day, because you get them there, you go through all that, you get to the office, or you get back home, wherever I'm going that day, and then it seems like the second that I get rolling, I got to turn right back around, because we've got kids at two different schools because of age group. So, I can't be in two places at once. My wife can't be in two places at once. So I have got to bounce out of here pretty soon. But I wanted to make sure that we did the rundown and some free plays. So let's start by doing my updated top 25 for college basketball for all the new people that are in here. What we do is during college basketball season, every Sunday night, late Sunday night, I start, because I do power rankings and depth charts for all 353 teams before the season starts. It kind of looks a little bit something like that. And it breaks down basic stats as well as about 7 key categories that I look at that your typical NCAA committees or people that give national rankings do not take into account. A lot of these places like KenPom and Don Best and stuff don't take into account. So I do things a lot differently, but my rankings are usually a lot more accurate as to what actually should be. So every Sunday, after all the games have finished, I start adding stats to everything. And once I've added the stats in, because it's a rolling depth chart from game 1 all the way through the end of the regular season. I start doing that, and then on Tuesdays we give the updated. Obviously there's 353 teams here, but we only do the top 25. They usually, fluctuate in some way every week, and that way you guys can compare what I've got to what the actual rankings are. Take that into consideration if you're capping your own games. What's up, Keith? So, to start, my number one team, if anybody's ever watched any of my videos, or especially here recently, I have said, and I'm not shy about it, that I do not think Baylor is the number one team in the country, because they are not the best team in the country. They might be ranked number one, and they might be deserving of a high ranking because of their record. But, you can pull their stats versus their win-loss records, who they've won against. They only have that one loss, but look at the teams they beat. Any, ranked opponent or a team on the road or, any competitive team, they're not putting away as a number one team would, or as number one, or teams that have been ranked number one this year have done so. My number one is Kansas. That's been that way now. This is the 4th consecutive week that Kansas has been number one in my system. And even though sometimes my stats rank a team in a certain position, and I personally would have made them lower or higher just off of my own eye test and my own gut feeling, I go off of this. This is the model that I have built and had for years, and it proves itself time and time again. But I stand behind that number one ranking that Kansas is by far the best team in college basketball. There's nobody that has performed like they have against teams that they have. Duke is number 2. Even though Duke lost to NC State last night, again, these records were done Sunday night and Monday morning. So obviously this was prior to Duke losing to NC State last night. So that will more than likely change. Is it going to bump Duke out of my top 5? Absolutely not. Will it bump them out of the top 10 in national rankings? More than likely. And it'll probably keep them out of it. They'll probably have to win the ACC to get a number one seed now, depending on what teams like Gonzaga and Baylor end up doing. But before that loss last night, based purely on the statistics that matter, Duke was number 2. Even though I don't like it, and I don't 100% agree with it. I've got Gonzaga at 3, even though I do not think that they are the third best team in the country. I've got Maryland at number 4, which I think they should be number 3, even though they have 4 losses. That's a team that has proven time and time again that they are a front runner. I said it before the season started and got laughed at because they were projected to finish within the bottom 3 of the Big Ten. And night in and night out, they're proven that they are one of the most elite teams in the country. Number 5, I have Baylor. Number 6, again, I don't like this one either. It will move, I believe, is San Diego State. But again, they are undefeated. So 7, West Virginia. 8, Ohio State. 9, I have Dayton. Number 10, I have Louisville. Number 11, I have Penn State. 12, I have Michigan. 13, I have Arizona. 14, I have Michigan State. 15, Seton Hall. 16 is Creighton. 17, Texas Tech. And Colorado, followed by BYU. Number 20, I have Houston. Then we get into the final 5. 21 being Florida State. 22, Villanova. 23, Marquette. 24, Iowa. And coming in to round out the top 25, I have a team that I think everyone needs to look out for that could potentially take down Michigan this weekend, and that would be Purdue. Another team that I have been following very, very closely this year. So that is the updated top 25. Some may agree, some may sorely disagree. Give me 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so Baylor will beat Kansas by 10 plus. Ooh. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. I'm not saying that Baylor can't beat Kansas. Baylor's a great team, guys. I've done pissed one guy off so bad he doesn't know what to do with himself. And I like the tenure background. What? Oh, that's my daughter's. Yeah, I'll take Kansas plus 10 too, no doubt. I'll take Kansas plus 10 against 90% of the NBA. They've got the best center in college basketball. I mean, he is a freak of nature. And he's not just some big goof either. He is a very smart player. He's very, very understanding of his role in that team. Yeah, but Tim, let's go back to that. What I said, I've done, I'm not saying Baylor's not a great team. I'm not saying they don't have talent. I'm not saying they're not a top 10 team. They most certainly are. But if you really want to go off of how they perform, they're about number 8. We'll go off of stats, but the only reason they're going to be bumped up with the stats that they have of the teams that they've beaten and how they've beaten them is the fact that they're sitting with only 1 loss. So I got them at number 5. But you also look back when they beat them, what was going on with Kansas there. They were making a lot of adjustments at that time, which it was good that they did. Kansas would be number 1 whether they made those changes or not. He was rotating more players for more minutes. They were trying to fill out the team that they really had. What do we have? How long can we roll? how far can we take this and how can we become even better than we are? That cost them a game, and it was the Baylor game. Because that was a game that they played hard on, but it was almost like they were still trying to figure things out. Kansas is the best team in the country, and just their overall differential. Now you have point differentials, you have, defensive point differentials, turnover differentials, everything. Your overall differentials to where you can say that a team is gaining momentum to say, okay, if we take offensive numbers into account, turnovers that turn into, scores, all this stuff, Baylor's sitting at about a 25.7 differential, positive differential. Bill Self-Dowden, no. Bingo. And Kansas is sitting at about a 33.9. That in college basketball might as well be, the difference between team number 1 and team number 40. I mean, even Duke is sitting at almost a plus 30. I'm not saying Baylor can't beat them. They most certainly can, and they can do it at home. More so, like, as if they were going into Lawrence, Kansas this week, I would suggest Baylor to stay home. Because people have wrote Kansas off after that second loss. They get into that fight, too. They get some, repercussions from that. Then they're like, oh, well, they screwed themselves. They're going to go. This is the kind of team they are. There's no way a team like this can win the national championship. Let me tell you something. The only team in the past 5 years that has been consistently better overall as a team than Kansas is the University of North Carolina. And then, obviously, you'll give Villanova some credit for wins that they have had. But Kansas has been the best team in college basketball 4 out of the last 7 years. The other 3 times, well, we'll say 4 out of the last 8 years. And they've been a top 10 team all of those. And they've been a true top 5 team, whether their record shows it or not, as far as just talent and what they're capable of, for the last 5 years straight. Villanova, they've got a couple of rings as well. One of those years, they were the best team in college basketball and probably one of the best passing teams I've ever seen. But the year that they won the national championship at the buzzer against North Carolina, they weren't the best team. They got the best of North Carolina that night, but North Carolina was the better team. And that was proven by when Villanova went up and they had pretty much put it away in the first half, and Marcus Page single-handedly brought the team back and put them in overtime. Yeah, but Nova's a new one. Like, Nova's always been, like, the Big East has always been competitive. You have teams like Creighton, your Marquettes, your Villanovas, UConns. I mean, those have always been great basketball programs as a whole. But Villanova really hasn't been an elite team for very long. And Duke is always a team that, because of Coach K and the way he recruits, usually you'd be right about that. But when they won it in, 15? Is that right? Whenever they won their last national championship. And I think Coach K at that time was thinking about retiring, but then he, did not. And he decided to hang around for a little while longer. And, of course, now I think that he's at the point where he wants to retire. But, he goes into every season ranked number 1. Every season. They're ranked number 1. If they're not ranked number 1, they're ranked number 2. And all they got to do is go out there and win their first game, and, they're up to number 1. and they can't be beaten. They can't do this. I mean, go back and watch my videos from last year when they got Zion, and I was like, well, Zion's a one and done. I don't know how Zion's going to fit into that program because Duke is, I just don't think that he fits the bill for that. Well, they go out there, Zion puts up like 30 points, and they blow a team out. They put up 100 points, whatever, and then you immediately hear everybody on ESPN going, Duke may run the table. They may be the first team to run the table undefeated since Bobby Knight in Indiana back in, what was that, the 70s? I think. And, it's like I was talking to my dad about that. I said, Jesus Christ, man. I said, it don't matter what it is. Duke's going to get told that they're the best. But yet, very seldomly do they prove they're the best and do it by going to the Final Four. I'm sorry, if you're the best team in the country and you don't make it to the Final Four, then there's no excuse as far as like injury or a player gets suspended or something like that, then I don't think you were a top team to begin with. There's got to be some reason. You're not just the best team in the country. Go in, get a number 1 seed, get to blow through the first 2 rounds of the tournament with your second stringers if you wanted to, and really all you have to do is go win 2 basketball games against what should be all lower competition. That's the way I feel about it. Yeah, 15, that was it. Because that was the same year, if I'm not mistaken, D, that Kentucky was like 38-1 or something. 34-1, 38-1. They went on that huge run. People were saying that Calipari was going to be the one to run the table, and they lost the game. And then, of course, they go and they what was it? They lost in the Elite Eight that year. Is that right? And then it was Duke and Wisconsin, and that was in Indianapolis. Tim, I agree with you. I think Gonzaga is a very well-rounded team. And, yep, that's right, Tim. It was with Anthony Davis, whom I love. But I think Gonzaga is a very well-rounded team. The problem that I have with Gonzaga, and like I said, I've got them ranked number 3. The problem that I have with that, and why I don't, even though their stats show that they're number 3, plus the fact that they've only got 1 loss, they're right there, with Baylor, is the fact that they're not battle tested in any way. Their resume is manufactured. Yeah, they're 26-1, but who have they beaten? And it's like when you talk about the teams that Gonzaga plays on a regular basis that you would consider good teams, like your Pepperdines or your St. Mary's, and again, even those teams that's up for debate because yeah, they've been good here in recent years, but then they go through and they have years where they're bottom 100 of college basketball, and then a decade later they pop back up and they're competitive and they're a tournament team for a few years. But if you threw Gonzaga, and think about how long, Tim, that Gonzaga has been quote-unquote elite. You know what I mean? You go back, they went to the national championship against North Carolina in 2000 and what? 17? Is that right? Is it 17? I get my years mixed up because it's not the season, because it switches years. Either way, the year that they went to the national championship, played North Carolina. Yes, everybody hit that like button. I just got a phone call. So my daughter, my oldest daughter, actually doesn't get out of school until 12:30. So my wonderful wife is going to go get my younger. That'll allow me to stay live for about another 20 minutes. So let's get to 50 likes so you guys can get a free premium play. But anyway, back to Gonzaga on that. That year they went to the national championship, they were the biggest team in college basketball as far as overall size. And we're talking about, not only having the height, but they were some big dudes under center. Like, they made, and I'm going to use North Carolina as an example because that was the national championship matchup. They made North Carolina look like a bunch of JV kids. I mean, they made them look tiny. And this is the same North Carolina team that had Kennedy Meeks under center. They had Luke May, which doesn't look very big on TV, but I mean, he was still, 6'5", 235 pounds? I told everybody, I said, they're going to miss that big white boy when he leaves. And I bet they'd have loved to have him right now. I would have loved to have seen what Luke May, Kennedy Meeks, and Cole Anthony could have done together. If you could rotate Joel Berry Jr., Cole Anthony, as, Cole runs point, but yet Joel Berry, backs that point up. They can both play shooting guard. Joel Berry would be your more prominent shooting guard, especially from outside. Let Cole drive in more, draw fouls. You have Kennedy Meeks under center, Luke May playing power forward, and then on the other side have, I don't know, you could throw Harrison Barnes in the mix or Justin Jackson, which Justin Jackson he was little as far as size goes. Jesus Christ, that team might have actually run the table. But anyway, the point is they went to the national championship, but if you look back at the 3 wins that they had leading up to that, it was almost the perfect storm. So, were they good? Yeah, they were great. Were they a tournament team? No question. Were they a top 10 team, honestly? Yes, because of just they had the pieces. Now, if they had to play top level competition all year, no, I think that would have worn on them. And I don't think that they would have been there. Not in top 10. But if you look at it, they come into the beginning of that tournament. Obviously, they get the seeding that they need to not have to worry about the first round. Second round, they come through and they're playing an absolute nobody. And of course, what happens? They blow them out. But then they go in, and you've got your teams that are coming from Sweet 16, then Elite 8 down to Final Four. So you talk about that, then Elite 8, then going to the Final Four before obviously getting North Carolina. You looked at had the game that would decided the matchup gone 30 seconds longer, there would have been a different outcome, and Gonzaga would have not made it past the Elite 8. And it's true. And you looked at teams like Oregon that year that North Carolina was expected to lose to, handled them with no issue, and North Carolina was favored by 8 in that national championship. 8. Which is really unheard of for a national championship game, especially when you talk about a team that size-wise is twice the size. And that was a North Carolina team that truthfully wasn't all that fast. But they went in there, and from start to finish, they just showed that, hey, Gonzaga, you're a great team, but we're an elite team. We are elite college basketball. You are elite mid-major college basketball. Irie. See, that's the only thing that I don't like now. I mean, obviously, I don't care. I want Duke to lose anyway. It's fucking I don't even want to say it. But it's like I told my dad when we went to Chapel Hill a couple of weeks ago. My dad hates Coach K like I hate Dabo Swinney. And hold on one second, guys. I'm gonna fill this cup up. Don't go nowhere. Sorry, letting my Keurig fill a cup of coffee for me. But I was telling him, I said, as much as, and I don't like Coach K either. I respect the shit out of him, but, I'm certainly not a fan, and I wish he'd never win another game. But I think it's going to be bad for college basketball when he retires. Even though Coach K has not been a contributor to college basketball ever since his last national championship, and to be honest with you, I think we can all probably agree that in 2015, when they won, Kentucky was the best team in college basketball. They also had the best player in college basketball. Well, I shouldn't say the best player. Was he the most talented player? No. But he was the most important player in college basketball. And we all know who that was because he's an NBA superstar. But Kentucky was the best team in college basketball that year. Truth be told, backwards and front they were. And second to Kentucky, I truthfully believe that Wisconsin was a more talented basketball team. But guess what Wisconsin didn't have? They didn't have almost 4 decades of greatness up here in which Coach K does. I don't like Coach K. I respect the ever living shit out of him, but again, I mean, this is, and it's like what Danny just said. He's like, I can see why people hate Dabo, but Coach K? Question mark. I'm on Danny's side on that one. If I was not a North Carolina fan, and I'm not just a North Carolina fan, like I literally popped out of the womb and my dad was beating it into my skull. Like, our world at home revolved around North Carolina basketball. You go from that to, it's not just fandom. I mean, you talk about fandom, being an alumni, all these things. I mean, it's a lot. Hold on, let me grab this cup. Wow. No, that's fine. I'll do it. Does that mean like you're just going to go straight from there to get her? All right, good. That way I can film. I mean, I'll be done with my live stream in 30 minutes. Love you. For what? How much is that? Okay, maybe you get it every month. I mean, I put $100 in there. That was all of it. I mean, no more. I mean, until. All right, guys. Got this. Got even better news. Wife just called me again, and she knows that I'm trying to work. And being that I stayed at home today to get stuff done from here instead of going into my office, because I was planning on doing at least one school run. Plus, she was sick yesterday. Thank God she ain't got the flu. I thought that's what she had, but she actually got up and was moving around this morning doing stuff. I've got to go pick up a prescription for her, and she does not want to go wait in line at CVS. And knowing that it's going to snow, or we think so, every person over the age of 65 in this city will inevitably start freaking out and going to the pharmacy thinking that they're going to be shut in for the next 6 weeks, even though tomorrow I think it's going to be 50-something degrees. But she was like, if you'll go do that, I'll just grab all the kids so I don't have to do that. I was like, you got it, because she knew I wanted to finish my live stream and stuff. So we've got half an hour, guys. So anyway, we got 44 people in here. We need 50 likes, so I'll do a free play before we jump off here, or a free premium play. But anyway, going back to what I was saying about what Danny said about people hating Coach K, if I wasn't so closely tied to Carolina from birth, then, I mean, because the only thing that, compares to Carolina is, obviously everybody knows who my team is. I mean, there is no, I mean, that is my team. But that's also because that's my sport, If somebody asked, me one time, who would you choose? Would you choose the Cubs or would you choose the Tar Heels? And I said, that's kind of hard because I'd have to choose baseball if I could only have one team. So I would have to choose baseball. So I'd say the Cubs. And college baseball just doesn't last long enough for me. And I wish they'd start using wooden bats. But, I mean, people know that I am probably very close to being considered mentally deranged when it comes to my obsession with the Cubs. But, I mean, I'm right there with it with Carolina. But if I wasn't that, tied to Carolina and a real fan, then I wouldn't hate Coach K. And I know I wouldn't. So, Irie, North Carolina now. But I've got all the respect in the world for Coach K. And if you look at people that are, live in the state that are not true fans of anybody, and they're like, oh, we just pull for, our home teams. Get the fuck out of here. You pull for North Carolina, Duke, NC State, Wake Forest. I mean, get real. But even people that love the idea of the rivalry are like, oh, I love watching the rivalry, but I'm not, a true fan of either. I guess I like North Carolina, but I love Coach K, or I like Duke because of Coach K. I mean, even my dad admitted, somebody that because of this rivalry, because they've never, I mean, God did not create a bigger UNC fan than my father. It's like we were sitting inside the Dean Dome, and I said, Dad, you know that when he retires, which I believe won't be much longer, I truly believe that it's bad for the game of college basketball. And he's like, my dad kind of looked at me and he said, I hope that son of a bitch never wins another game and he leaves tomorrow. And I said, yeah, I get it. And I and at the same time, I feel the same way as a fan and as somebody that's so closely tied to that. But at the same time, he's one of the people that made college basketball what it is. And when he leaves, you've got about 4 people left that still hold true to what college basketball was. And one of those is Coach K, and he's really not even doing it anymore. I mean, if I'm telling you right now, if Zion would have come 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Duke wouldn't have got him. He would have ended up going to a Calipari. That's where I thought Zion was going to end up, was with Calipari. And if not there, he would have ended up at Kansas because Kansas was the front runner for a national championship that year. Or he would have ended up somewhere out west like UCLA because he knew he could get just as much exposure but not be expected to have to, win something so grand like a national championship. But ever since that last national championship where I really thought Coach K was going to start to call it quits, he was so close to breaking a couple of those records. He was like, all right, I'll come back. But you can't come back and say, well, I'm going to be back for one more year. You can't do that. You're going to lose all of your recruits because kids are coming to play for you. Much more so than coming to play for Duke. It was like when Steve Spurrier was at South Carolina. There are kids that are being recruited by every top school in the country, but they want to play for Spurrier. And kids that were coming in, his last full recruiting class was like, listen, I'm being recruited by Alabama, by Southern Cal, obviously by Clemson heavily. Here's all these people, like Jadeveon Clowney was one of them. Who was another one that did it? I don't know. Tons of people. I know Jadeveon Clowney was one of the ones that went public as a high schooler, and he said that out of all these schools that wanted him, and he wanted to play for Coach Spurrier. Spurrier kept it real with him that he told him that if he can't guarantee he'll be there for his duration of time at that school, that he would go somewhere else. And Spurrier told him, he said, I'll be here unless I die. And that's what made him decide to go to South Carolina. But Coach K is not a one-and-done guy. But when he decided to come back for a few years, I think that's when he started getting towards the end of going, okay, I'm kind of ready to hang it up. But I can't leave out on a bad note. I want to leave out, like, win one more championship and walk out, off into the sunset, which I get. And I think that he's done enough in his career to earn the right to want that. But so he started targeting one and done, saying, I want one more championship. And if the way to fast track that is to try to go get some one and dones, I'll do it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing it either. Have you noticed that Roy Williams, the first one and done that he's got is Cole Anthony? And Cole Anthony's not a for sure one and done. I think he will be. All North Carolina fans thought that he would be at the beginning before he ever played his first game. Then he had the injury, and then it was like, all right, he's definitely gone. But then he starts hinting around possibly wanting to come back, and I start hearing that from people that, I still, that are still affiliated with the university, that I can call and say, what's the buzz around? And they all say the same thing. They're like, listen, he's talking about wanting to come back. He just needs to obviously think about it, and he's not going to make a gut decision until after the year's over. He knows that the NBA would be probably financially smarter, but because of the injury and, because of some of these losses that they've taken, that he feels that if he leaves, he's always going to have it looming over him that he had unfinished business at North Carolina, and if he leaves, he'll never get to right that wrong. So I don't know. I feel like now he's being pulled in two different directions, and they're pulling just as hard on both sides. He needs to go to the NBA, make his money, not risk another injury while not getting paid. I think he's proven his worth to North Carolina as far as a player. But for him to go out and do as well as he has in North Carolina, to play as hard as they have, and to, I mean, we're literally talking about 15 seconds of clock time and four buckets, and they'd have 6 more wins on their resume. I feel like he wants to come back and prove that half of this stuff was just bad luck. I mean, you got to think, guys. This team was, they started out 8th, ranked 8th in the country. They were 8th in one poll, 11 in another. And preseason, they were projected to be a top seed for the tournament as well as a Final Four contender. There were people that were all but guaranteeing it that they would make it at least to the Elite Eight. And look, they're not even going to make the tournament this year. They might make NIT, but I don't know that Roy would, or the university would even pay to go to NIT. It's not going to do them any good. No, Scott, I did it on my free play video, which is loaded. It's right there, but I can't hit post until I end this stream, so it'll be there. You already know my recap, Scott. You're on my plays. Is North Carolina the worst closing team this year? How many heartbreaks can they bear? Truth be told, I think they only closed one game wrong, and that was Clemson. I think they lost that one. I think that it's just been, they got cheated at Duke. I don't care what anybody says they did. Virginia, that was just unlucky. And plus not only that, Virginia played well. Virginia did 2 key things in that game that kept them in it. Otherwise, had they not done one of those 2 things, Virginia would have gotten worked. And then they got cheated at Notre Dame. Virginia Tech, I would just say it was bad luck. I can't believe they've had as many 3 buzzer beaters in a row. 5 total this year. But 3 in a row. Duke, Virginia, Notre Dame. Notre Dame technically wasn't a buzzer beater, but they hit it down 2 or whatever, and 2 seconds to go. So no, I did some on my free play video. I try not to clog the live shows up with that, just because most people that come to the live shows are my clients anyway, and they already know what the recap is, and nothing I say or do is going to change it. Anyway, let's go ahead and do one free play now. And then, like I said, we got about another 20 minutes. And we only need 3 more likes. And at the end, I'll do a premium play. But let's start. All right, I'm going to tell you one game that I like, guys, but you can play it one of 2 ways. It's really how big a ball as you got as far as your bankroll. But I would say that it may be a smarter play. Where'd that game go? Oh, right here. So, let me just make sure this line hadn't changed. It was the same before I went live. And I got a package loaded. Oh, I guess this is as good a time as any to tell y'all. So, I announced it on the free play video, but again, I haven't posted that. I can't actually click post until I'm done here. But I'm going to do the extra day promo today. This is the last time that I'm going to do buy 3 days or 7 days and get an extra day free until we get, into the full swing of baseball. I started doing that during last year's baseball season, and I would do it once a month, sometimes once every 6 weeks. So it was like people waited for it. They were, excited about it. And when I announced those days, I mean, the floodgates open. And again, it's not really about sales, but it was just seeing so many people jump on at once and be a part of, some action was just great. The more the merrier. Because, they jump on, we're killing it, and then it's just more people that you're helping kill their books, which is what we're here to do. But I've been doing it more often in the winter months. And that's just because in the winter months, I mean, for me, this is where, most cappers would be their busiest as far as people. I mean, it's my busiest because of sports, but, this is technically my slower time. That's why I've been able to get so many deals done in the off season of stuff I've been working on. But this is where usually people are the busiest. Now if I was doing this during baseball season, I announced this, and every time I announced it, not only would I have all the repeats, but I'd pick up 50 new clients that day. And within a couple of hours. And some of them have turned into some of you guys that are now long-term package members. But this is the last time that I'm going to do it until we're probably about 3 or 4 weeks into baseball, and then we'll go back to doing it our normal once every 4 to 6 weeks. So the rundown for anybody that doesn't know, because I know we got some newcomers today, is $50 is a 3-day pass. That's all premium and daily top play in all sports for 3 days. $50, you buy it today before midnight. You get a 4th day absolutely free. If you buy it late tonight before midnight, and obviously the plays are already gone, that's fine. Your service will start tomorrow. I mean, you'll already have access, but we just won't count that as a day. 7 days, $99. You get an 8th day for free before midnight. And one thing that I've never done before, usually if you buy 30 days, I give an extra day. A lot of times if you buy 30 days, I give you an extra 2 days or sometimes even 3. But if you want the $2.99 month, I'm going to give you 5 extra days. So you're actually going to get 35 days for $2.99. The only thing this doesn't include, it does not include game of the weeks, game of the months, game of the years, if we have any of those in that duration of anything you buy. And it does not include Patrick's NASCAR. But it does include every premium play and daily top play every day in all sports except NASCAR, because that's not mine, for whatever package you buy for that duration. So we've got that. And again, if you want it, jump on it now, because I'm inevitably going to have 1,000 people asking about it next week. Hey man, when are you going to do that? And they're not going to like it when I tell them sometime in April or May. But we're going to do that. And then March Madness. Each team in college basketball has 5 games left, except for the teams that are playing today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. Well, there's a couple of them that only have 5 left, so they'll have 4 left by the end of the week. But most teams have 5 games left in the regular season. Select few of them that are going to be playing in the next few days have 6 left before they play that game. So over the next, 2 weeks, we're going to see the regular season come to a close. March Madness for most people that means the tournament, the big dance. My March Madness that I consider March Madness consists of every conference tournament. So you have your mid-major tournaments, your power conference tournaments, all of those, and then you have your tournaments. You have your NCAA tournament, your NIT, your CBI, all that stuff. What I do is I have a March Madness package every year. It's $199, which is $100 cheaper than I ran last year. It was $299 last year, but you get every premium and daily top play if and when I have them, for every March Madness play that I have. So from the start of conference tournaments in any tournament all the way through someone being a national champion. So you will get plenty of action over the course of a full month, close to 5 weeks, for $199. Obviously, people that are my, long-term people that buy like your 1 years and stuff, you don't have to worry about it. You already get them. But if you are interested in that and you didn't buy the 1 year all access or anything like that to get those, jump on it now. It's being put on the site as we speak. I can actually see John in there working right now. It's weird how you can see somebody working on a computer from 1,000 miles away. But I see it loading, so here in a few minutes it'll go live. You'll be able to see it $199, and plays will begin once conference tournaments start. There's no guarantee as to how many plays I'll have, but between all the conferences and then you get into your tournaments, like your main bracket tournaments, it's a good many plays. It's well worth $199. So at the start of the tournament, it will probably go back to the normal price, I would say. But for now, and I don't know for sure, but for now, you can at least get it for $100 off. So you'll see that come up on the site soon. All right, now I've got the lines up. Keith, I'll answer your question about the fastballs here in a second, because that's actually funny you say that. All right. Oh, shit. I got 3% battery left. All right, so let me give you this free play. You guys tell me, this is going to be up to you of what you do. But App State, South Alabama tonight. App State's at home. Both of these teams are about even when you look at one thing is style of play. They both play the exact same game. They play the exact same offense. They run and gun the whole time. Each team can run a 2-3 zone and man-to-man. Man-to-man is more successful for both of these teams because they play at the pace that they do. Every time App State switches over to a 2-3 zone, usually it's because they are playing such a slower paced team, and it just works out, and it preserves a little bit of their energy. But if they're playing a team that's even 60% of the speed they're never successful running zone. They have to run man-to-man. Good thing is, South Alabama also does pretty much the same thing, except their zone defense is even worse. So both, I think we're going to see a very tight, full-court press, man-to-man. This is going to be a fast-paced game. These guys are going to wear themselves down. So the line, I'm seeing a couple of 2s, I'm seeing 2.5s, and I'm seeing a couple of different money line prices. I'm seeing 140s, 145s. William Hill's got it at, hold on one second. Okay, never mind, that ain't right. So 140 is about the best that I'm seeing, and that's at William Hill. It was at 135 a minute ago, and it may very well go back to that 135. I'd love it if it did. I mean, I would love it if it did. But 140, that's a lot steeper than I like to lay when it comes to college basketball money lines. 135s I'm all right with. I mean, as most of my clients know, when they do see me play money lines, I like to stay. I mean, I played a 135 last night, but I like to stay 130 below, typically like minus 115s, 120s, stuff like that, and it's got to be valuable. Like I don't play money lines just to do it. There's got to be value in that money line based on versus laying less juice to take, to lay points. But tonight, I see a close game. If you look at the true numbers and you pull every stat that I pull, and I obviously create my own lines, I had App State at -6. But that's also taking into account 3 points for home court, which, yeah, these teams know each other well enough being in conference that you could say give them 3 points, but I don't know that I would take either one of these teams at home against anybody, within the conference, even if a rivalry. I don't know that I would consider, truly saying that it's 3 points better. 1.5 is what I'd say, but giving them 3 points because that's the rule of thumb, I've got them at 6. You take that away, obviously it brings you down to 3, which the line right now is at 2.5. Give them a 1.5 back. All right, you say they're worth 4.5. I mean, either way, the line is just a tad bit soft, but the way that they are depicting these teams as far as who's better, who's not, and how much better are they, I think they've got it pretty damn accurate. So not only do I think that it's going to be a close game because these two teams are going to play the exact same game, it's going to be who can last the longest and conserve the most energy. So I think that that's going to have to be a lot of perimeter defense. So I think whoever plays the best perimeter defense and whoever can draw the most fouls. So you get a team in foul trouble where you have to start, rotating players. Later, Scott. When you have to start rotating players, and then of course they have to come in and start trying to keep up with speed, or as they're starting to wear down and you start getting your starting 5 in foul trouble, which either one of these teams is known to do. That's where it's going to come down to. Who's going to have the best perimeter defense, and then who's going to be able to stay out of foul trouble. Whether that means that they're drawing fouls and going to the line and putting the other team in jeopardy, or they're putting themselves in jeopardy, or whether or not they can just stay out of foul trouble. Not saying that they have to try to draw fouls or anything. It's who can stay out of foul trouble to where in the latter minutes where they're already trying to sit players when they have to, but you're only going to see somebody sit for a minute or 2, and the second that there's a timeout or they go to the line and they get, a whistle where they can, have players come in and out, then they're going to. They're not going to keep them out for long, especially if it's a close game. They'll let them take a breather, get to where you can breathe again, and then you're right back out there. So I think, truth be told, when both of these teams start to wear themselves out, whichever one has done the best perimeter defense to avoid somebody getting absolutely scorching hot from outside, then it's going to come down to when players start getting rotated and they start having to rest them so that they can last through the duration of the game. It's going to come down to the team that's in foul trouble is the one that's going to rest their people longer and put them in at the end in hopes that it's still close enough to salvage. The other team is the one that, while they have to start rotating those players due to rest reasons and foul trouble so that they don't foul out with 5 minutes to go, that's when the other team can start pushing the pace a little bit more, one last stretch, and then start being able to shoot the ball from outside better and drive in better because they're playing with their rotational players, if that makes sense to you guys. They're playing with the backup starters versus the 5-man starting rotation. That's where one team can separate itself. And that's what's going to happen tonight, I believe. I do believe with the backing of what I think will be a decent home crowd, but I just think that, number one, you have a better outside shooting team with Appalachian State. Here recently, you probably wouldn't say that. You give it to South Alabama, but it's more consistent with App State. App State fouls smarter. They don't get themselves into foul trouble. And when it comes to drawing fouls, creating fouls for yourself to not only go to the line, but put the other team in foul trouble, App State is a top 50 team at that in the country, and they are the best within their conference at it. And South Alabama is not even in the top 5 when it comes to creating fouls. So all that added up, plus my line, I said that they were a 6-point better team. I think the line's a little soft. If you guys wanted to lay the 2.5 points, I'm okay with it. But if you guys wanted to lay the 140, hold on it for a little bit, just a little bit, and see if you can get 135. If you can get 135 on the money line, lock it in now. If not, I'm okay with the 140. Don't go laying 150 or more than that. But laying 140, if your bankroll can take the risk, obviously, because you want to bet to win your normal premium wager. So, like for me, I would lay 1,400 to win 1,000 in that situation. But at money line odds, being that all they would have to do is win, Appalachian State would actually hit well above what it needed to percentage-wise in my system to be a premium play. It would be a strong lean at -2.5, but would miss the premium cut by about 8%. It's not saying that I still don't personally like it as a premium play, but I'm not going to go against my system. So if you're going to play the 2.5 points with App State, we'll say it's a lean because that's the truth. But if you're willing to lay the 140 or 135, that's a premium play for you. That's not the premium play that I'm going to give you guys that I had planned to, but that's a secondary one. App State, it's a little bit steep. I do not like laying money lines like that in college basketball, as most of them will hurt you. But I'm okay with that one. That one is for sure premium play if you're willing to lay that. Because I do think that App State is the better team. They're the home team, and I think that there's 2 key factors that they're better at that are going to be the late game factors, which allow a team to either pull away or just sustain a small lead and run it out. As for you, Irie, you love a damn money line. South Alabama is the play. Okay, whatever you say. Not hits, not. Keith said something about, do I think the Astros are going to be ducking fastballs? Be careful with that, because here's the thing. Do I think that somebody's going to go out there and rock them? Yeah, sure. I mean, but pitchers hit batters for a hell of a lot less. You guys are falling into a trap with if you guys, I don't know how I want to word this without sounding like a douche. You're an idiot if you bet that total of hit by pitches in the Astros this year. Because look at the number. The number seems steep at 82.5, 83.5. I bet it yesterday. I put $1,000 on it. Hold on. Let me look it back up. I can't remember if it was 82.5, 83.5. $83.5 per William Hill was the total on hit by pitches Astros for the season. Now read the fine print, because like William Hill, this was for the regular season. And when I had my runner place that bet last night, like he called me and he was like, you do realize that this is not playoffs included. And I was like, yeah, because I had them, ask 1,001 questions to verify. Is this, intentionals? Is this if they think it's intentional? Is this if they get hit and a player gets ejected because the umpire thinks that it was purposeful because of what happened? No, this is how many Astros players will get hit by a pitch in 2020 between opening day and the last day of the regular season. How many? Over under 83.5. They are suckering you into losing money on this because the number seems high, right? 83.5. You just hear that number and you go, holy shit, that's a lot of hit by pitches. And it's because the average person, the average Joe Blow, how many baseball games do you think they actually watch a year? Sit down and watch, whether it be live, on TV, on their phone, whatever. Regular season baseball games. The average sports fan is 5 games or less. The average baseball fan, you're a self-proclaimed baseball fan, right? The average baseball fan, they're fan enough to go to at least a game a year. They're fan enough to where they keep up with it, but they're not going to turn on, they're not going to go out of their way to watch a game. They're not going to plan their schedule around watching a certain game. Yes, they have allegiance to a team for whatever reason, but they're not going to get pissed off if they lose. They're not going to, if they like watching Chicago PD and it's on Wednesday nights, but yet their team is playing at the same time, well, they're going to watch Chicago PD and they'll catch the score on SportsCenter or on their phone. That's average baseball fan nowadays, guys. They watch 8 games or less a year. Now, people like me that probably should be put in a mental institution for how much I am obsessed with the game, I watch a few hundred games a year, at least. Hell, I go to more games in a season than most people will watch in 6 or 7 seasons put together. So if you think about that, if the average fan watches, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they watch 10 games all year. They watch one every other week. They sit down and they watch a game from start to finish involving their team or not. Let's say it's their team. That way they keep up with everything. How many times do you think they see a hit by pitch during that 9-inning span? On average, if it is a team that is playing someone with an aggressive inside left-hander or somebody that throws inside favorably and they're left-handed, you're probably going to see one every game. Every time there's a bullpen day, you're going to see a hit by pitch. It's almost guaranteed to happen. But in generality speaking, when you take every major league franchise and you take in every one of them playing 162 regular season games, each franchise has someone take one, and 99% of the time it's not intentional. It's because they were crowding the plate or because the pitcher lost control or, the pitch didn't happen the way you wanted it to or what. But on average, somebody gets hit with a baseball standing in the batter's box once every other game, basically. Some teams, it's an average of once every 3 games, every 4 games. But as a league standard, doing the average of all of them, each team gets hit by a pitch once every other game. And sometimes you have them where they go 10, 20 games in a row where they get hit. You have some games that 3 people get hit. And that's when a starting pitcher comes out in the 4th inning because he can't control them today. It happens. You have, guys that are coming up for their first start in the big leagues, they get jittery, and they pop someone on the elbow. It happens. The average team that doesn't crowd the plate, that doesn't have to face overly aggressive pitchers, that doesn't that doesn't position themselves for bunts a lot. The teams that you would think would be the least likely to get hit by a pitch, and that are still on average get over 75 hit by pitches a season, and that's on an average season. So think about it. The Houston Astros have 30% of their starting rotation that crowds the plate to a certain degree. And you also have very aggressive hitters like Bregman, like that wormy little fuck Jose Altuve. So these guys are people that are going to get hit multiple times in a season anyway, even when they were beloved by everybody. They're fooling you guys. They're fooling you. They're throwing out that number because you guys don't see it a lot. I'm not saying you guys as in you. I'm saying the general population of people that tend to watch baseball every so often. They don't see a hit by pitch very often. And if they do, and it's on TV, it's because it was intentional and it made SportsCenter. How often do you see that? Once every couple weeks in baseball? So you don't think it happens a lot anymore. It does. It might not happen as much as it used to because now everybody gets in trouble because that's not safe. But back before everybody turned into a flaming, douche canoe that had to change their tampon in between innings, people got hit by pitches. That's how you got your point across. The Astros were going to get hit with 75-plus pitches with or without this scandal. I'm going to go ahead and say that for the sake of what happened and how many pissed off people there are, I'm going to say that they get hit intentionally, directly associated with them cheating at least, 10 times. We'll say 10 times, even number. If you threw this number out without any of this happening, just saying that the Houston Astros, how many times do we think they'll get hit by a pitch? If you actually went back and studied every one of these players that are going to take, step up to the plate, you come up with about 75 anyway would be your over-under number. 73 to 75. Well, take that into consideration, you would say under, right? Well, now you say, they'll go over because they're cheaters and everybody's mad at them. I'll give them 10 hits at least for that. But for the veterans, for the people that are above that are not going to act like assholes, then, your Clayton Kershaws aren't going to do it intentionally. If he hits you, he didn't mean to. Or it's because you were crowding the plate so far, he's backing you up. Your Clayton Kershaws are not going to do it. Your Chris Sales are not going to do it. Dave Roberts as a manager wouldn't allow it. He'll sit your ass down. I don't think Bueller will do it. You're going to be under certain management like Joe Madden, like Dave Roberts. Those guys aren't going to allow it. Dusty Baker wouldn't allow it. Then you're going to have people that are pissed off. Your younger guys, your Mike Fiers, whatever. But I do not think that – I think they'd be hard-pressed to reach that. Anyway, you'd be teetering on that line. But I think that your veteran pitchers who know the severity of what could happen and know that they don't want to hit them anyway intentionally, or whether they want to or not, they would never do it intentionally, and they don't want to get targeted as doing it by making a mistake. So I think that you're going to have more cautious pitching, and I think the number is going to go way under. I mean, I'm not telling you to bet under. I'm telling you that I think that it's a stupid bet that I placed. That, not saying that I think I will lose. I think I'll win by, with flying colors. But I think the bet itself is dumb. But everybody's so infatuated with this story, and they think that because they've made an enemy out of everybody, that we're still playing baseball in 1994, where John Smoltz would, He'd warn you a couple of times by throwing it inside at 91, and when you wanted to be a smartass with him, he would put a grapefruit-sized bruise on your leg and have you walking like a three-legged dog for 2 weeks because you didn't take heed to what he was saying. It's a lot more cautious and safe and whatever else now. So I think it goes under. But that number, that 83 and a half, you're like, that just stands out. And because of what's going on, everybody thinks that as soon as the season starts, they're just going to start getting pegged left and right. And by the All-Star break, they'll have 100 hits. It's just not going to happen. It could go over, but if it goes over, it's not going to be because of intentional hits. So, but who knows? Depending on who they're playing, Bregman or Altuve might step right into one to see if they can get somebody suspended. Maybe right before the playoffs, because Houston's going back to the playoffs. Hate to break it to y'all, but all right, let's go back. Irie says nobody got time to be watching baseball daily. Well, maybe you don't. I do. It's what I do for a living, brother. And I tell you this, even if I didn't, I'd make time. There's nothing I love more than that game. All right, let me do this. Let me grab my charger real quick so this doesn't die in the middle of it. But let's do a free play. You guys decide. NBA, I'm still on the fence about as to whether or not I'm going to have a premium play tonight. Because, again, playing stuff right after the All-Star break, the first day back, is not the smartest of ideas unless you have enough information about players and what they've been basically doing over the past 72 hours and things like that. If you're just going out there blindly saying that oh, Houston's better than Golden State, well, yeah, no shit, but we don't know what these players that can't play back-to-back games some nights, what they're going to do after they've had a few days to screw around. It's kind of like baseball. Usually when the All-Star break ends and you come back to play, I lay off for the first 2 to 3 days to let teams get back in a rhythm, get serious, and see what they're going to be all about for the second half. And again, changes were made before the All-Star break. We started seeing those kind of come to life. We're going to have to get another weekend before we see if they're going to work or not. So, but I do have a play that very well could make the card. So you guys choose between NBA, NCAA, or NHL. Let me go grab my charger so the computer doesn't die. I'll come back. I'll read through the comments. We'll do one more free play, and then we'll call it a day so I can post my other free play video, get the plays done, and get them out. So give me just a minute. I'll be right back. All right. Let's see what we got. What have I missed? Because I got to roll. Keith Davis, it's great to see Ryan Newman walk away. Absolutely. Posted some stuff on that about Twitter. Case, can you slide up to Northport? There's a live feed on the Braves. I may go see the Braves. Would you ever do 1 week for $50, Irie? I have actually done it one time. One time. And I actually had somebody send me an email, a few people, because I did 1 week for $50. And the only reason that I did it was because I did one of the extra day promotions. And for whatever reason, my video was working for some people, and for some people it was like going through the first minute of the video and then like cutting 3 or 4 minutes and then popping back up when I did the recap, and then as soon as I got done with the recap and reminded about like the promo, it would cut out again, and then the very tail end of the free play for me just to say like, this is the play by, no breakdown, no nothing. It was a 13-minute video that showed all of about 4 minutes of it. So a lot of people didn't even realize that I had the promotion going on unless they followed me on social media, which is another reason that you need to follow me, at PixChase on Twitter. But I felt bad because they were like, dude, I didn't even know you had it going on because your video wasn't working, but for some people it was. So a couple days later, I decided to do it, and then I had some people were like, okay, so $50, I get the week plus the extra day, right? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I was like, it's $50 for a week. I said, it's the second package. I said, but if you go buy today and today only, if you buy the full week for $99, the normal price, I'll toss you an extra day. You can choose one or the other. I said, it's, same value. I said, the 8th day is more valuable than just saving $50, in my opinion. And I had people that said that I was greedy, and that's why I'll never be successful. I was like, all right, man. Cut my price in half because I felt bad that people didn't get to take advantage, but because I'm not willing to give them 2 promotions in one when I'm already one of the cheapest services out there, I'm stingy. So I found that funny. But no, I've not done it since, and I don't know if I ever will again. It's not worth it. I mean, it's a loss for me basically. After you pay the processing fees and you put back for cost of business and all that, and pay business taxes and everything. I mean, I end up making, $8 max, which I don't even take the money from. It just gets dumped back into the business. But it's like $8 of net profit for that. And that's like what I would make on a normal $50 package for 3 days. And now I'm having to provide 4 more days, so it's like work for a week for $8. And it's not that I'm looking to really make money on the packages. I make the money, betting the same game as you guys do. But at the same time, I'm certainly not looking to break even or lose. I can just not do this and break even. All right, let's see what I missed, and let's do a free play. What's up, Matt? Mexican sensation. I'm not sure who that is. Yeah, I've already run a baseball promotion twice, actually, which I never do. Because people are going to jump on my baseball no matter what. I mean, my baseball clients, like my normal people that have been with me for a long time, they bought the next season's baseball before Christmas of that year. But I always, I've already run it, had people sign up, and I'll get asked 10 more times, "Will you give me a discount? Will you give me a discount?" And they're going to get the same answer, but as soon as they start seeing what's going on, they'll pay it and they'll be happy to. Keith, I've been meaning to congratulate you at the same time. Thank you for your recent business deals. Appreciate it, Keith. Danny, late March. Like the last week of spring training, I'll be in Fort Myers. I'm going to go after I go to Arizona. All right. So, two things. The promos. Buy 3 days, get a 4th day for free, $50 until midnight only. Buy 7 days for $99, get the 8th day for free till midnight only. Buy 30 days for $299, get 5 additional days for absolutely free until midnight only. That includes all premium and daily top plays in all sports every day. It does not include games of the week, month, and year. If I have any of those during the duration, I may not even have any. And it does not include Patrick's NASCAR, which, by the way, congratulations to Patrick. Again, I forgot to say that. A clean sweep for the Daytona 500. He had 3 head-to-head matchups, 3-0 sweep in all of them, and he had Denny Hamlin at plus 900 to win the race outright, which he did. So a huge cash for week 1, and I did a whole recap video dedicated just to that. It's already on YouTube. Did it a couple of days ago. So make sure you go check that out if you want to jump on his NASCAR season. $500, you probably will make your money. I mean, it's just like this. You bought it for $500. You made your money back the first week, and you've still got money left over to bet this week's race. And that's if you're only betting $100 a play. So, the promos, episode 7 of Outfielders Anonymous is up. It got posted about 1 a.m. this morning. Go check that out. Show some support. Episode 6 was posted a little over a week ago. Interview with single A general manager of the Boston Red Sox, Eric Jurenko. Good interview. We actually met him at one of their facilities, hung out in the locker room. I'll post some pictures on Twitter. Did a great interview, talked about Mookie Betts, talked about a lot of the stuff going on, minor league concerns about losing the teams, and then everybody wanted me to give some very detailed thoughts on the Houston Astros scandal. That is what yesterday's episode that we posted, episode 7, is. The whole episode revolves around that, and I give some very detailed, personal, unapologetic opinions. We'll say it that way. Sure, some people disagree, but it is what it is. But before this thing goes, and I've got to go to the drugstore for my wife. So, free play. That's what I'm going to give you. I don't like it at initial glance because I hate betting on this particular team. But for some reason, the number's well beyond supported. Minus 125, money line, Utah over UCLA at home. They're longer. They're bigger in size. And for the past 10 games, they've been much better at rebounding. UCLA has more talent. But truth be told, with the way these two teams are playing, Utah should be favored by 7 to 7.5. They're only laying 1.5 to 2. Lay the $1.25 Utah. That is on the card at home. Free premium play. If you guys need anything else, let me know. Yes, I did. All right, I'm out of here, guys. We're going to do another live show tomorrow, which we usually don't do on Fridays to make up for a couple of missed days. So, free play video coming up soon. I'll post it here in a couple of minutes. And plays will be out soon. If you got any questions, send me an email. I'll get back to you. I love you guys more than I can ever tell you. And hopefully I'll see each and every one of you tomorrow. All the new people that came over from Kyle, appreciate the shit out of it, guys. And I hope to see you back again. If you guys need anything from me on my end or have any questions, chase@chasewins.com. And if you want to verify any of what you see or hear here, you're welcome to ask Kyle. We've been pretty close friends for a couple of years now. And yeah, he's got a lot of his clients that are also my clients that will verify anything you like if you would like to hear it from an outside source, or you can always come in the video because most of these people in here are long-term clients that are on long-term packages and have been for the past 2 or 3 years. So make sure you do that. And then there is 2 people that wanted to claim big long-term packages for the huge deals that we just ran with that business deal that I closed out of that $7K that was left. They have not claimed it. And if they don't claim it in the next 58 minutes, they're not getting it. So if any of you guys are interested in a long-term package, a year, a season of something, lifetime plays, whatever, let me know. And I'll be glad to use it for you guys where you can get about a 75% discount. But come 2 p.m., if they haven't claimed it or nobody has said that they want it, it's going to be unavailable. And that final 2K is going to go towards the Talladega trip we're going to be announcing hopefully next week with myself, another service, another company, a casino company maybe. I'm not going to say too much. We're going to be having a big tailgate, big thing at Talladega this year. So that's it, guys. I'm out of here, and I will be March Madness $199. Go get on it. And then I'll be posting baseball team breakdowns and initial looks for this year, as well as my future predictions for each division winner that you'll be able to purchase. That'll be posted within the next 7 days, and I'll make you guys aware. You can buy just American League, just National League, or the whole thing. But very in-depth. If this is something that you're going to want to buy, be prepared to do a lot of reading because it's a very detailed breakdown of my personal thoughts towards each team and how I see their season starting and finishing. So it's not something where it's just going to say so-and-so team minus or plus this to win their division. It's going to be that and every single major league team. I'm basically going to have my scouting report looking into the season. I'm going to wait a little while longer. Let's see how spring training goes for at least the first couple of weeks before I do it, because that could hinder my decisions one way or another or initial thoughts, seeing how some players do. I mean, we've already had some players go down. Hamels is going to miss, that opening week. I think Ohtani, who is one of my favorite players in the game and has been since the first day he started. I have been looking forward to him for years. Baez being my favorite, then Ohtani probably my second favorite in the game. Before all of this bullshit came out, Alex Bregman was one of my favorites. Just enjoyed watching. He can go fuck himself now. And then one of my new favorite pitcher, and who I think should be the next commissioner of baseball and or president of the United States, Trevor Bauer. Somebody that I've got college experience against. UCLA, 2010, Omaha, College World Series. Do the math. Brennan, that is correct. Well, there's actually 2 of them. Go back and watch about 10 minutes earlier in the show, and there was another one. So, all right, guys. Love you. If you got any questions, send me an email. I'm running up the street real quick, and I'll be back in 20 minutes, and I'll get back to you. See you guys.